Hello, everyone. This is Thomas Pepin NHL Talk. I'm Thomas Pepin, and let's talk about the NHL. Again, continuing the, NHL expansion series, maybe is the best title for it. Um, and so we're going to have a look. It's more, again, what we're doing here to begin is to gather baseline information, baseline data to then be able to contrast uh, other options with these cases. So, in particular, we're taking a look at, to begin at least, franchises that have failed and then succeeded in their second attempt. So, today we're looking at Colorado. Um, and yeah, let's get started. So, in the previous stream, um, there was more time spent determining the structure, well, of a spreadsheet where we're recording all the data about the teams and such in order to contrast them. So that took up a bit more time yesterday. Today we have just gathering the data, talk about it briefly. It's not going to be too long of a stream compared to normal, and so I would guess half an hour ish. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah. Like I said, let's get started. So, uh, first, I have some stuff pulled up already, and I think I can share screen. So, similar to the Minnesota North Stars, the Colorado Rockies, which was the previous incarnation of the Colorado Avalanche, the team. So as we found with Minnesota, the North Stars, they went to Dallas. So it's not the same franchise, but it's the same characteristics of the franchise. So the underlying, the fundamentals of whether or not it could be successful is the location, not the franchise, so to speak. So, um, where did the Colorado Rockies go? That's a good question. Let's have a look. So, they were founded as the Kansas City Scouts. Scouts moved to Denver, and the Rockies moved to New Jersey. Okay, so they're the New Jersey Devils now. So, similar to Minnesota going to Dallas, Colorado came from Kansas City and then went to New Jersey, which is, I think I knew that in the back of my mind somewhere. Not the Kansas City part, I had no idea about that. But somewhere in the back of my mind, I remember kind of that they went to New Jersey, but don't remember so well to have known it on the spot here. So, in any case, the Colorado Rockies were also in Denver as the Colorado Avalanche. So, in terms of characteristics, they're the same franchise. So, let's figure out the exact address and then I can show you the distance. Yeah, didn't they turn this into a big parking lot or something? Okay, so we want directions to... Ball Arena. It's basically 1.5, 2 miles. So, oh, even less because you have to, just with detours and stuff. So 1.5 miles ish. That's wild. So yeah, it's the exact same characteristics, the franchise here. So to evaluate or to use, Colorado as a baseline for comparison, it's the exact same in the previous version that went to New Jersey as the current version that's been successful. So we will start with recording some of the data. Once again, we'll use the state population, and we're going to keep that consistent. So we're not going to do historic state population. So we want there it is. Man, it's quite similar to Minnesota. I had no idea. Let me just double check it and mess that up. Looks like it. Yeah, okay. Cool, so step 1 complete. Now we need hockey registration numbers. That was this one. We're gonna need this just to double check, and we'll need this too. Okay, so Colorado registration is substantially lower than Minnesota. So it is 15547. CO is the abbreviation for Colorado, right? Yeah. I just need to make sure I'm not American. Make sure I don't make any stupid mistakes. Cool. Okay, so minimum attendance for the Rockies was minimum average attendance. Then we want Colorado minimum attendance. So that's 13,947. 2,910. Divided by number, of games. And then we want average during the Rockies. That's 1978, 79, 78, 79. That divided by 680. So that's the league average attendance in the minimum for the Rockies. Max attendance for the Rockies was 9,788. Max for Colorado. I think that must be. Oh, wait, no, they must have increased capacity. So 8,007. Yeah, so 18. Oh, should I use that though? That's one of the COVID years. Ooh. Although I could and maybe should, I'm just going to use a different season because I don't trust that the COVID year was perfectly accurate / representative. So we'll use 0506. 0506. That is that divided by that. And then Rockies. Rockies was 7980. They go from their worst year to their best year. That's weird. 7980. That divided by that. Okay, so next the capacity. Where is it? Oh, there it is, 16,000. Wow, so they never really got close to their capacity. That's bad. And then Ball Arena. 50,000. Yeah, barely over half capacity. Man, that's bad. Okay, and then we want, valuation. '22nd place, so not overly strong of a franchise financially, you could argue. And I mean, you can kind of see that also from the attendance in their bad years. We'll talk more about that, but just an interesting thing that stands out. Drag down. Okay, so we should have all the data. Close that. Do this to double check. Colorado 263, so that's about right. Good. Okay, so that's all the data, and then I guess we'll just briefly talk about it here. So just to start with the Rockies, I was gonna make a pun. Their attendance was a bit rocky. Lame. But so seems relatively consistent, excluding their low year. Did anything happen in that year? Nah, it doesn't look like it. Only 17 teams. Man. How times have changed. So anyways, relatively consistent, all things considered. Mind you, just to remember that their capacity for that arena was 16,000. So only getting to, at best, 9,788, which is 61.18% of their capacity. That's not good, and it's not sustainable, so it makes sense why they would disappear. They lasted 6 years, which isn't horrible, but obviously that's not good enough. So pretty interesting in that regard. What I guess I would say is that the established fan base seems to be relatively stable. They're not one of those markets that are not hockey market, where attendance is going to fluctuate dramatically based on performance. It seems like they have a base, a fan base. The problem is just that it's too small. And really, when you contrast that with the registration, the hockey registration versus their total population, 0.27% versus Minnesota, similar size, 1.03%. So, clearly hockey's not so big of a sport in Colorado yet. It's reasonable, you could argue, I guess. I mean, depends on what you contrast it with, but, and it's, well, you know what, just for interest's sake, let's pull up the registration again. So Colorado, it was 15,000. Is there... So I think EPA's got to be Eastern Pennsylvania, so it's about the same size as that. A little bit smaller than New Jersey. Similar to Ohio. Similar to Texas. Wow, Texas is actually doing pretty good. Mind you, I think the population is dramatically bigger, but don't hold me to it. I'm not an expert on U.S. state populations. So, I mean, it's not a small market. It's pretty big, you could argue. It's bigger than Connecticut, but then again, just consider the population of Connecticut, which I don't know offhand, but my belief is that it's small. To contrast it with Ohio is, I think, a pretty fair thing, because Ohio, I believe, well, what's Ohio's population? 11, so it's double, and they have similar registration. Also, Ohio's a northern-ish, yeah, you could say it's a northern state. So Colorado's not so bad, considering their population, with regards to registration. So, yeah, so I think that's probably the best contrast is maybe with Ohio. So Colorado is in effect as a percentage of population, probably one of the higher of the states that are not well-known hockey states like Michigan, Minnesota, New York, and so on. So, anyways, that's interesting there. What was I at again? Yeah, I was talking about the the fan base. So, so one thing I would be, I guess maybe slightly worried about is their long-term sustainability. We'll take a look at the Avalanche, because if they don't fluctuate too heavily, then maybe my judgment's wrong. But it seems like for a state with such, I was going to say such a low population, but a comparatively low population, you need to have a strong fan base in order to be stable, is what it feels like. So Minnesota, I mean, it's one of the best hockey states, so it should conceivably be stable, and should have in the past. I don't know exactly what happened, and it's not really critical to what we're talking about here. So, anyways, so we'll have a look at that in a sec. So their maximum year, like I said, it's only 61.18% of the capacity, which is not very high. It's below league average even at their maximum, which is not very good. And what's that? 70.05% of the league average in that season, so not very good. Registration, minimum attendance. So we've covered all that for the Rockies. Now we'll contrast that with the Avalanche. So let's see how stable their fan base is. So it does actually fluctuate quite noticeably. So the minimum attendance was 77.48% of the capacity. Now, again, you'd want to contrast that with something else. Well, I guess the league makes more sense, but yeah. So max versus, or wait, sorry, min versus league. So it's 81.7% of the league's average attendance. So I would say that's not bad, but again, so the problem is I don't know what minimum attendance they need to be profitable. So it's tough to really exactly evaluate that, but it feels like that's a bit low on the low end. As long as, I think the thing is as long as throughout all the years you're above a certain level, then you're probably a sustainable franchise, which seems to be the case with Colorado. So, anyways, where were we at? So, and then maximum capacity was their full capacity or slightly more, and it was 106.2% versus the league. So in their best year, they're better than average of the league. Now, the one thing, so I think this is where Minnesota is a good thing to contrast with. So, or a good example to contrast with. So, for one sec, I should do this. Freeze versus column. Oh. Column row. Why didn't it do column? There we go. So I should make this bigger too. So to contrast, the minimum attendance in Minnesota since they came back as the Wild was that was versus versus their capacity. So they were essentially always at capacity, and so you compare that versus the league, 112% at best compared to the league, and then 106.2. So the amount that they're better than league average was double in Minnesota, and so very clearly Minnesota is a stronger fan base than Colorado, I would argue, based on this. So and then so the minimum is, it's basically at capacity. So it's a way more sustainable franchise, it looks like, in Minnesota than Colorado. So if they really do poorly, I'd be concerned for a long period of time. Right now they're doing great, so that's fine. And they've also had other periods of time where they were doing great, like the how many cups did they win? With Wa, was it 1 or 2? And I believe Wa was there for 96, wasn't he? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so I mean that's the problem is if it's not always a winning team, I'd be concerned about um, yeah, about the sustainability of Colorado. Um, Anything else to cover really? And so I mean this kind of comes through in the valuation that they're um, $45 million less valuable. I think that's millions. And then so similar franchises are St. Louis Blues, San Jose Sharks. It's still very strong. You're getting towards the bottom there. So yeah. So anyways, so I'd be concerned about Colorado in the long run. Now they've been in this version how many years? 95. So that's 5, 25, 26, 27 years. So they've been around long enough that I think they're probably here to stay. So as a result, I'd say they're a good comparison for if a franchise can succeed either as a new franchise or as a second or third attempt at a franchise. So they're a very good example. Now we're talking about Colorado. I think tomorrow's subject is going to be maybe even more interesting to examine, which is Winnipeg. It's very tempting to start to take a look at the numbers, but I won't because that's what we're supposed to do tomorrow. So I think we'll leave it there. I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to do. So Colorado's starting to get, towards the bottom of what you could argue would be a sustainable hockey market for an NHL team. So, yeah, it's one of those that you could conceivably see them fail in the future. It seems unlikely given how long they've been able to last. But it doesn't seem outside of the realm of possibility. Now, Minnesota, on the other hand, so far looks like I would say a stable franchise that shouldn't ever disappear. How long have they been in existence? I didn't check that yesterday, so just one sec to pull that up. So the Wild started in 2000, so that's 22 years. So just a little bit less than Colorado. And how long did the North Stars last? Wow, they lasted a long time. I wonder what happened with them. Again, it's not so important to this series because whether it was, the ownership or whatever, that's not what we're really looking at. We're just looking at it as a market in general. So previously they lasted 67. So that's 22 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 years. Wow. And then if you contrast that with the Rockies only lasted 6. So that kind of shows you the difference in the markets. So anyways, that's it for today. Again, it's more data gathering to begin, brief discussion. Tomorrow we're going to take a look at the Winnipeg Jets, which I think is going to be even more interesting than these two because, well, as a Canadian and also having been born in Manitoba, it's I'm well aware that the market is not so strong. Winnipeg is not a small city, and hockey is huge in Canada, but it's not that big of a city. There's not really much of a surrounding population, so I think it's going to be well, if you notice as we were going through valuations, it's one of the lowest ones. So I think that tells you right there. So anyways, we're going to talk about Winnipeg tomorrow, the last of the baseline teams for comparison. And then we're going to take a look at all the teams that failed, and we're going to see if any of them could conceivably come back. So that's it for today. If you like the stream, hit the like button, share with your friends, subscribe, turn on notifications. Otherwise, channel homepage has upcoming streams. For the rest of this week, we are on Thursday now. So tomorrow and the next day, 2 p.m. Eastern. Then after the time change, we're going to 3 p.m. Eastern. If you have a look at the channel homepage, it'll tell you what the stream will be in your time zone after the time change. It might not impact you if you're, for example, in a central time zone. But yeah, that's probably a better way to figure out what time it is for you. And yeah, any comments, leave them in the comments. Suggestions, same thing. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.